Welcome to Chicago Counterpoint Television, brought to you by the Fatherhood Educational Institute. It's fantastic to be here for another season. This is actually the premiere, the first show of our new season, and I would like to dedicate this show in honor of Ernie Banks. Ernie played for the Chicago Cubs, and it was an honor because he was the honorary president of the Fatherhood Educational Institute before he passed. And it was great having him at the FEI meetings. He really cared about children's rights. He really cared, and we will dearly miss him. And I'd like to let everybody know before we start the show, if you want any information about the Fatherhood Educational Institute, you can always contact us at the information on your screen, website fatherhood-edu.org. And also, if you want any good information from our website, which you could see right here, there's a screenshot of part of it, the Fatherhood Educational Institute, a lot of good information. On the left, you can see an image of me and U.S. Congressman Danny K. Davis, good friend of mine. This website has a lot of great information. Just look at fatherhood-edu.org. Fantastic website. And now, in starting this show, I'm very honored to have Maureen Gorman here. Maureen Gorman is an attorney, and I'm hoping she'll volunteer for the Fatherhood Educational Institute after this show, and she's been invited to attend a meeting, and hopefully she'll get more involved because she's a brilliant lawyer, very, very focused on social justice. And unfortunately, I'm trying to introduce her, but we already have a caller, so I have to take this caller. I'm sorry, Maureen.
That's all right.
We have to take callers. Caller, you're on the air. This is the Fatherhood Educational Institute. I'm hosting the Chicago Counterpoint, and we have Maureen Gorman here, brilliant lawyer here to answer your questions. And she received the 2017 Children's Rights Award, so she's here for free to answer your educational questions.
I want to thank you for letting me ask a question. A friend of mine has 2 children, and the DCFS is investigating him. They claim that he abused the children. He thinks that this has been caused by his ex-wife, who he's having trouble with. He wants to know what he can do. Does he need a lawyer? He said that he's going to go to this traffic ticket lawyer because it's a real simple matter. Is it? What's at stake here?
No, it is not a simple matter, and there is so much at stake. He could be prevented from seeing his children under the statute that applies to DCFS for a long time if this is not handled correctly. We always recommend that people going through an investigation through DCFS retain a lawyer. DCFS will tell you don't need a lawyer, but you need somebody who's skilled and experienced in the sometimes arcane and odd ways that DCFS operates, and you need to know the law. So I would definitely advise that he get an attorney.
And that's critical because the Department of Children and Family Services has incredible power. And thank you for your caller, sir. We have another caller. Caller, you're on the air. I'm Attorney Jeffery Leving, Chicago Counterpoint TV. And Maureen Gorman is here to answer your questions this evening.
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Mr. Leving, as a caller, and I'm so glad you're back on. I missed your show, and I read earlier today that your guest received the Tenacious Child Advocate Award, and I just think it's honorable, the work you both do. I have a friend that recently got a letter from DCFS that there's an inquiry into possible abuse allegations. He was going to talk to the investigator, and I told him that my opinion is, you should probably get a lawyer or be careful talking to them. Should he talk to a lawyer first, or should he talk to the investigator first and get the information from them? What's going to be the best course of action?
It's very important that he not, frankly, talk to the DCFS investigator alone. Be much better to be with an attorney. Frankly, the DCFS representatives turn things around, turn your words around, and we know the good way to present the truth without making admissions that really are not really admissions, but DCFS will turn them around and make them into admissions.
Keep in mind, DCFS may misinterpret what you say. An investigator may not hear what you say and may mishear it or may twist it. There could be a terrible communication problem. Don't take the risk, because if the investigation goes haywire, you could end up with a criminal case, and it could be terrible. But we do have another caller. Thank you, Maureen. Caller, you're on the air. Attorney Jeff Leving, Maureen Gorman. This is Chicago Counterpoint TV. What can we do for you tonight?
Mr. Leving, I have a family friend that needs some advice regarding a domestic situation. He's a married man, and he had an altercation with his wife, and the two small children, were present. And the wife falsely alleged that he pushed her in front of the children. The children witnessed a violent act, and she went in on a domestic violence charge, which I believe would have been a criminal charge, and there's also an order of protection associated with it. And perhaps Maureen could touch on the DCFS aspect, because he got a call from an investigator saying that because the alleged abuse occurred in front of the children, they want to talk to him. So he doesn't know what to do, sir. And Maureen, perhaps you can shed light on the situation.
Sure. Yeah, this is a very tricky situation where you can have custody or parental allocation issues, DCFS issues, criminal issues. And because it's a potential criminal case, we would ordinarily, unless there's some extenuating circumstances, recommend that the DCFS person at all, because anything he says could be used in the criminal case. But he really needs to be advised by an attorney very skilled in these areas.
Every case is different, so keep that in mind. Every case has to be handcrafted. If you are interested in what the Fatherhood Educational Institute does, give us a call, 312-738-1060. We do have a caller on the air. Caller, welcome to Chicago Counterpoint Television. What can we do for you this evening?
Yes, hi. I'm calling on behalf of a friend. He just lost his job and he cannot afford child support. And I'm just calling to see what he should do, if there's anything I can relay to him.
Sure, there definitely is. A lot of times people think if they lost their job, well, they can't pay child support and they don't do anything about it, and then a huge arrearage builds up where they owe a lot of back child support rather. He needs to go into court and ask the court to lower or to stop his child support until he can get a job. That's the only way that he will protect himself, so that he doesn't end up in jail for not paying child support. And it's very important that he have a competent attorney with him.
Thank you, Maureen. Looks like we have another caller. I was hoping to talk to you. I have a whole bunch of questions I wanted to ask you, but I guess we can't right now because the phones are ringing off the hooks. Caller, you're on the air. Chicago Counterpoint TV, Jeff Leving, Maureen Gorman. What can we do for you this evening?
I have a question for Ms. Gorman.
Okay.
Hi, I was wondering how much child support I could, how it's calculated. I have 4 kids, and I don't have an income, so I'm going to depend on every penny I can get to support my children. And my husband, who I'm separated from and getting a divorce, doesn't have a very good job, but my kids need to eat.
Of course. Well, currently the child support is set by a percentage of the pay. In your case, your husband's net income. That is going to change quickly in July. It's going to change to where child support is going to be computed another way, which would include any earnings by you, but you say you're not employed, so I guess that wouldn't affect it as much. but you need to, get into court if you're not already in court with the divorce, and have child support set by the court.
And if the father is unable to contribute the support you need, you may look to see if there's a way you can also earn some type of income, because you don't want to end up destitute. So maybe both of you can financially contribute, because you have 4 children. It's a lot of children, and they need support. Our next caller's on the air. Welcome to Chicago Counterpoint TV. I'm your host, Jeff Leving, and we have Maureen Gorman here tonight.
Yeah, I have a question about orders of protection. I have a friend that just got served with some papers from the sheriff that there's a order of protection against him, and now he can't see his kid. Is there a way he can take care of that, or does he have to wait for the court date? What does he do?
He does not have to wait. Under the law, you can go in earlier than the order says, and sometimes that's advisable to be very aggressive in these kinds of situations, because likely either the mother has perhaps exaggerated or outright fabricated some domestic disturbance, supposedly. So we take these very seriously. Suggest that person, your friend, get a lawyer and get into court, within days.
Okay, thank you for calling. We do have another caller, but be careful. The oldest trick in the book is there's service with the order of protection, and then she calls you. She's very romantic, very seductive, and asks you to come over and tells you not to worry about it. You come over, she calls the police, and you end up in Cook County Jail, and you have a mess. And then you have a criminal case for violating the order of protection, where if convicted, you can end up in jail for up to a year. Next caller, this is Attorney Leving, Chicago Counterpoint TV. Very fortunate we have Maureen Gorman here to answer your questions tonight.
Yes, one of my family members needs to change his visitation rights that's in the court order. So how does he go about doing that?
Well, he needs to go into court and ask for a change in the parenting time. Perhaps somebody has moved and the schedule doesn't work anymore, and now he can, under the new act, he can go into court at any time to change parenting time. He doesn't have to wait 2 years. And if it's in the best interest of the child or children, and there's no, factors that would weigh against it, then the court will most likely give him a change in visitation, which is now called parenting time.
Okay, thank you for calling. Appreciate your call, and looks like we may, I thought we had to break another caller. Caller, welcome to Chicago Counterpoint TV. What can we do for you this evening?
Yeah, I have a cousin who is going through a divorce, and his wife is threatening to move to St. Louis, where her family is from. Is that possible? Will she be able to do that?
Well, she could try and do that, but Maureen Gorman here is to answer these questions, but keep in mind, removal attempts often could be strategies to destroy relationships between fathers and children. Parental alienators use them quite frequently. So you have to be really alert to this, but this is Maureen Gorman's guest appearance, so I'll let her answer this question.
No, she can't just up and move. She can move, but she can't move the children out of the state of Illinois without the consent, either consent of the father or an order of court. The law has changed about relocation, but in this particular case that wouldn't apply, because it applies if they're moving kind of close to Chicago. So moving to another state, definitely he needs to get into court and ask the court to prevent it. He doesn't have to wait until she actually moves. He can go into court and ask the court to prevent it.
A preemptive strategic move, proactively applied in court, is usually much better than reacting. Reacting also also can and put you in a very vulnerable position. Proactive, not reactive. Next caller. Caller, you're on the air, Chicago Counterpoint TV. And we're fortunate to have Maureen Gorman here, Attorney Gorman. What can she do for you this evening?
Well, I just wanted to say congratulations on your latest award and how it feels to receive such a prestigious award.
I did recently receive the 2017 Children's Rights Award. That was very gratifying. I enjoy fighting for children's rights, parents' rights, and it's great to be recognized for that, and I appreciated it.
Thank you for your call, because this is very, very significant, because children often are at risk due to father absence in our society. If you look at the statistics, you'll see that children that are father absent are more likely to do poor educationally. Academically, it's terrible. Little girls that are father absent are more likely to be victims of abuse, including sexual abuse. It's not just physical. So father absence can have a very damaging effect on children. Children's rights are really, really, really important. And I'm honored that the late Cardinal Francis George endorsed my newest book, How to Be a Good Divorced Dad, and he realized the importance of fathers, even though divorce is something I wish never occurred, but it's a reality, and the Fatherhood Educational Institute is really doing wonders, helping dads, mothers, children, families. And if anybody wants any more information on the Fatherhood Educational Institute, please look at our website at fatherhood-edu.org, fatherhood-edu.org, and also you can call us at 312-795-9060 or email us at mail@fatherhood-edu.org. It's a great charity, a great organization, and don't forget, FEI does have a Twitter account, so you can follow FEI on Twitter at fatherhood-edu, fatherhood-edu, and you could like FEI on Facebook, Fatherhood Educational Institute, and don't forget fatherhood-edu.org is a great website. It's the Fatherhood Educational Institute's website, and it's an honor to be able to volunteer for this very, very important organization. And one thing I tell all these children, because I'm very concerned about children, they're the future of our society, and fathers, courage. Never give up courage. Never give up hope, because courage is the magic that makes dreams come true. And children need two parents, but too often fathers are just kicked to the curb, because unfortunately that's where a lot of people believe they belong. Margaret Mead once said fathers are biological necessities but social accidents, and we know that's not true. It was an honor for me to receive a letter from President Obama. He'll be leaving office soon, and this is a little shot of his letter here, and concerning what we do. But I guess if you see the letter, fine, because I have to take another caller, so we have to leave the letter and go to the caller. Caller, Attorney Jeff Leving, Chicago Counterpoint TV. What can Maureen Gorman do for you today?
My question is about the new law on alimony. My friend, I just sent him, he just came back from a divorce and he got totally raped. I couldn't believe it. I told him to go see your firm, and, but God.
The new law is pretty heavy-handed and is not good for in many instances for fathers. It used to be decided in a different way than it is now. Now it's based on percentages. It gets technical. If the combined income is under $250,000, and there's certain percentages. And that's pretty much what the court does. There's very little discretion anymore.
Well, thank you for calling. It looks like we have about 5 minutes left before the show comes to an end. So hopefully I could show you this letter again from President Obama. It was an honor to receive it in relation to How to Be a Good Divorced Dad. It's an honor that he responded and acknowledged and endorsed this very important book. It was very interesting because I brought the manuscript to him in New York, met him in a building so I could show him the manuscript, but when I arrived in New York, there was a big protest outside of the building he was in. Police, German shepherds. It was a nightmare getting in the building, but I finally was able to get in there and give him the manuscript. And then while I was giving him the manuscript and talking to him, Mike Ochoa from my office kept on calling me. Figure that out, you know. And I made the mistake of picking up the phone, and I ended up having to hang up. But I guess, you know, it is what it is. He's a great guy and a great lawyer. But it was an honor to get this important letter and endorsement and support from our president. And How to Be a Good Divorced Dad is my most recent book. It was an honor to write it, and it's a bigger honor to contribute to the Fatherhood Educational Institute. And I can't wait to the next meeting because I'm hoping I can really snag Maureen Gorman into really doing a lot of volunteer work for this organization to even give back more than she's giving back to the state of Illinois and the children whose lives she has been saving for years and the parents she's been helping. And it's really, really an honor to be here with her. And I know we don't have a lot of time left, and I did want to ask her about one of her victories where she was able to get the court to vacate a $65,000 child support arrearage against a man who wasn't even the father of the child, but her work kept a man from going to jail who did nothing wrong. He just made a mistake and trusted somebody, and he was deceived. But I did want to discuss that with Maureen, and I know there's not a lot of time, but I just want to say thank you, Maureen, because if you hadn't succeeded in this case, this man, his whole life would have been topsy-turvy, and he probably would have been locked up.
That's right, that's right. He had been duped by the mother, and to make a long story short, we did get the mother to say that she told him he was the father, and he really wasn't. But we also did some digging in case law and found some cases that convinced the judge, under the facts and the law, that he should not have to pay for another man's child, which he had been doing for years.
Okay, so that was really a critical victory because parents and children put their futures in the palms of not only of our hands, but of the hands of other people in different organizations, different walks of life, and government agencies. And this is really, really important work because failure is really not an option here because there's too much at risk to fail here. So again, please take a look at the website, the Fatherhood Educational Institute's website. It's a great website. It's fatherhood-edu.org. Great website, fatherhood-edu.org. I hope you get a chance to look at this fantastic website. There's a great video on it of an ex-offender reuniting with his daughter. It's a real tearjerker, very warm reunification. Great father who really went through a difficult time. So right now we're going to have to wrap up the show, and I want to let everybody know I'd like to thank Maureen.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to more volunteer work with the Fatherhood Educational Institute.
And I look forward to seeing everybody same time, same place next week. And don't forget this Saturday I'll be on Power 92.3 FM talking about fathers' rights, 9 to 10 a.m. But again, I'll see everybody same time, same place next week. God bless.